Recently, we've seen stuff like Asians come out and protest the conviction of Peter Liang in New York, and some degree of backlash against Chris Rock with his monologue focusing on so-called black issues during the Oscars. And so I think it's time we ask the question, who's our friends? Many black people today fall prey to a particular trap laid for them by other groups, especially other oppressed groups and non-white people of color. This trap is insidious because prima facie it appears to put us in the place of making dick moves if we don't step into the trap. Don't worry though, your brother Mark Black will lay out the strategy of the game and proper tactics on how to win. This trap is the idea that we cannot speak out or stand up for ourselves unless we also speak out against all oppression. It's not just enough for black activists to speak out about issues that affect us directly. We are also supposed to take on the individual and additional responsibility of every person who may be affected by white supremacy, bigotry, or any other form of oppression. Like I said, this is a pretty insidious trap, right? After all, we should want for our brother what we want for ourselves, yes? If another group is getting done, we should back their play and fight for them too, right? Let me say it clearly and categorically. We should not, under the current circumstances, stand up and fight for them. We should not, and here's why. As it currently stands, there are many groups who suffer under the institutional systems put in place to keep white folk in power, wealth, luxury, and ease. However, not all of these groups suffer to the level of or with the same intensity as we do. This is clear no matter how you look at the situation. Believe it or not, there are some very important differences between black folk and these other groups that needs to be made very clear because the confusion is not only blunting our efforts, but it's literally going to get us killed if we continue to fuck up on this one. I'll address the difference between us and other ethnic groups in just one simple sentence. Any member of another non-white ethnic group here can go home. I said it. Asians, Hispanics, even Native Americans have their own homelands. If white people were to go crazy tomorrow and kill everything that isn't white, the borders would be clogged with people running the hell out of here. The natives could wall up their reservations and defend themselves. Where can we go? Where's our homeland? We don't have one. Because of this, no matter how bad it gets here, anyone who is a member of a non-white ethnic group who remains is choosing to be here. They could leave en masse if needed and escape to a homeland that still houses their ethnic compatriots. The second and more important reason is that stepping up to fight for every oppressed person is just another form of slave labor. If you think I'm being hyperbolic, ask yourself just one question. Can you name any modern movement for change here in America that hasn't used the labor, resources, bodies, strategies, tactics, and votes of black people to reach their aims? Black folk have been involved in every single struggle for liberation in this country. Women's rights movements, LGBT rights movements, the current rise of the Hispanics to prominence, and every other freedom or liberation movement has been supported by black activists who have contributed so much time and effort. However, now that these groups have attained some degree of justice, where are these people who stand up and fight for us en masse? If you can hear crickets right now, that's because they don't. You'll have gay people who are against reparations, women who protest against black people getting their due. When they needed us, we were on the front lines. When we need them, the silence from their side is deafening. We've done so much heavy lifting for every oppressed and abused group on the planet to get them over the mountaintop, only to have them disappear when it's time to return the favor. We're muling for everyone, doing the hard work of getting our asses kicked, developing strategies, mottos, symbols, Black Power fist anyone, only to have them used and co-opted by everyone else. This has to stop. Asians in particular have consistently bitched about being considered submissive, modeled minorities, while taking advantage of at every turn of being considered as such. In my humble opinion, I found many of them who try to out-white white people, and they aren't disappointing me now either. Peter Liang was convicted of manslaughter in the second degree under New York Penal Law Section 125.15. Manslaughter is defined as recklessly causing the death of another person. Essentially, he was convicted of doing something negligent that caused Akai Gurley's death, and the evidence strongly supported this. Even if his story held water and there were holes all in it, pulling out your service pistol in a darkened hallway and even accidentally firing a shot with no evidence of physical failure of the weapon, thus killing someone, is the very definition of recklessness. The definition says nothing about intent. Observe the protesters claiming that Liang accidentally killed Akai Gurley in complete opposition to the evidence and the subsequent conviction. These people have the nerve to say that in spite of showing beyond any reasonable doubt that this officer was in fact reckless and took a life, they want to see him get off. So it isn't enough for white officers to fail to even be tried in most cases of killing us and acquitted when they are. Asians want the same privilege for their people too. At the end of the day, family, if you're wondering who our friends are, the answer becomes startlingly clear. We have none. Now let's discuss how to avoid this trap so that we're never snared in it again. The first thing to know is that we are never obligated to speak on behalf of other groups or people. Our issues need to be addressed by us at every turn and should be first on every agenda. No one else will nor can they speak for us. The second thing we need to understand is the difference between friends and allies. Friends will lay down everything for you. Allies are used for a purpose. I propose that we begin to ally ourselves with others. What this means is that we do nothing for any other non-black group without an agreed quid pro quo in advance. In practice, this means that before any public statement of alliance with them, they agree to also publicly align with our goals and aims. Once they have served their purposes, they can go their own way and we go ours with no further obligations to them. Lastly, we have to stop apologizing for being pro-us. I'm not even sure why I need to tell you this, but that little voice that tells you that it's shameful to only look out for ourselves as a people needs to be strangled and killed. Every other group puts its goals and aims first. This is the only path to success. They may ally with others, but if at any point their allies fail, they will cut them loose and continue to go for self. We need to do the same. This is Mark Black. Please visit my website at blackqna.net, and links to all my social media can be found on my main channel page. Family, we have to get on code and on point because time is short and we cannot afford after 400 years to continue fucking around and spinning our wheels. Peace, prosperity, and power to my people.